What is up, everybody? We are live. A little change of plans here. I am on the ice. I was planning on doing this from the shop, but plans changed. I was out checking some ice, and I found 5-6 inches of good ice. So that's what we're going to talk. Actually, tonight we're going to talk about Red Lake early ice walleyes while I'm fishing. Hopefully, we can put a few on the ice here. We'll see what happens. Here we go. All right, get us going here. All right, like I said, I'm out in North Dakota. I'm on just a small little trout lake right now. Some little rainbows in it. So basically, first thing I want to start out with here is no ice is safe ice. We took all the precautions, spud barred our way out here. We have picks, float suit, all the safety stuff. Made absolutely sure there's enough ice, and there is plenty of ice on this small lake we're on right now. We got, almost 6 inches of ice right now. So plenty of ice to be out here doing what we're doing. Tonight we're going to talk about Red Lake. So I'm going to play you a little video from last season about a little rattle flyer action I had going on Red Lake. So go ahead and watch this video, and then we'll chat about it a little bit. What do we got here? Right on it. Give him a little rattle. Oh, he's right on it. Right there. There, he hit it. Swam away. Then he came back and hit it. Whoa, right there. So we're only fishing. See, he came up real quick. We're only fishing in 6 feet of water. That's a nice eye right there. So I'm going to tell you, lively too. So what I'm doing here is, it's approaching sunset right now. We got low light conditions. So basically what's going on here, the reason I'm sitting in the 6 feet of water is because these walleyes, it's a nice eye, we're going to let him go. These walleyes, they come up to feed right at dark. Get him down there. So basically, during the day, they all move out into deeper water. Sunset comes, light gets a little bit low. They all come up to feed in the shallower water, and I'm just sitting here intercepting them. And the bait I'm using to intercept them with is I'm using a Lindy flyer right now. And the reason I'm using this Lindy flyer is because it's got a lot of flash, and it's got, you can hear, it's got a really nice loud rattle inside it. So basically in this big flat, when these fish are coming up to feed around dark, if they're within 20-30 feet of me, they can see the flash, they can hear the rattle, it'll draw them into where I am, and I'm basically just kind of intercepting them on their way into feed, and we're getting some really nice eyes doing it too. I'm gonna bait this back up and get down there, get another one. All right, there you go. So you can see in that video when I was jigging, you could see as I was playing that fish, 3 or 4 different cadences I tried there, and it finally got the fish to bite. One more thing, guys, go ahead, throw some comments down there. Give a bunch of rattle and flyers away today. I don't have a pen or anything on me, so comment. I'll pick about 10 guys out of the comments after the live, and I will throw out some Lindy flyers to you guys. So basically, Red Lake, 3 tips for Red Lake. First of all, when you're going out there, you want to stay away from the people. You're going to head out from that access. You're going to see that group of people straight out from the access. Do not fish by those people. Head out by yourself. Second tip is you want to use a lure that is flashy and has sound to it. Lindy Rattle and Flyer is my personal favorite on Red Lake. Basically, it calls those fish in. Third tip, on Red Lake, I am not going to hole hop a lot. I'm going to pick a spot. I'm going to camp out there. I'm going to use that rattle and flyer or the rattle and quiver spoon, and I'm going to jig that fish in. So basically, you're going to want to call these fish big featureless basin. There's not a ton of structure on Red Lake. There is some spots where there is structure, but that's not the kind of stuff I'm fishing. I'm kind of more in the featureless basin part of it. So I am going to sit there and I'm going to let call these fish in with me with the sound of that rattling flyer. Basically that bite will be kicking off, and like I said before, what I want to tell you guys is no ice is safe ice. So you want to be really, really careful, especially on red lake, especially what I'm doing right now. You want to make sure so you spud bar out and you have all the proper safety equipment in order if you're going to head out and do this. Hopefully we can see a fish here. Do I use glow baits? Yes, I do use glow baits. On Red Lake, I haven't used the glow baits a lot. I use glow baits on Lake of the Woods a ton, but on Red Lake, I'm telling you that rattling flyer, the specific sound of that flyer on Red Lake triggers those walleyes, and it's an absolutely phenomenal bait on a red. I'm going to show you this right here. So another thing is you want to pick the right rod. So this is my rattling flyer rod right here that I use specifically for the rattling flyers, and you can see that it doesn't have that fast of a tip on it, and the reason for this is so I can properly work this bait in the water column. This bait's a little bit heavier, so that little bit slower tip on that rod allows me to work that bait and get the rattle I want out of it. Where you can see this bait I have right here, or this rod I have right here, I have a tungsten toad on here with a bobby garden plastic on it, and basically this one here, you can see, I don't know if you can see, but it's got just a little bit of bend in it. It's got an ultra fast tip on it because I want a little bit of bend in it so I can detect those up bites. So this is the rod I'd use for the tungsten toad, and I'd have a little more aggressive rod for the rattling flyer or the glow spoon, or if I'm going with a glow streak, I'd have a super aggressive rod because I'm really ripping that hard, and I want to get nice big rips, and I want to get the most out of my swing on those glow streaks so you get the most action out of it. All right, what do you guys got for questions? Rods, lines, and reels for Red Lake. Red Lake, I am going to use 6-pound ice braid, any type of ice braid you want. I'm going to use a swivel, and then I'm going to use another 6-pound fluorocarbon leader on top of that for red. 36-inch rod. You know, it's personal preference, Tim. If I'm fishing in a shack that's real tight, or in a snow bay or something like that, I'm probably going to have a shorter rod, but if I'm fishing outside, I'm definitely going to have 38-inch rod. Just because the longer the rod, the more you got there to work with, the more you can keep those fish pinned. Longer rods do have an advantage. Oh, I just saw a fish in there. One thing about where I'm fishing, it's just a North Dakota stock trout lake. These lakes are all over the place. There's a website you can go on, North Dakota. You can see all the stocking numbers. You can check all these different little rainbow trout lakes, and they're a lot of fun. A lot of these lakes you can get, some pretty decent trout on too. It's a super fun thing if you have kids, because once winter kicks off here, you're going to see you can catch a lot of numbers of these trout. What do you guys got for questions? Pink buck schlats are awesome. Yes, they are. Yeah, any line of work, you're right. You don't need some fancy ice braid or anything like that, especially on red. And I think, we're getting a big wind on red right now. So the first, week of ice season, I'm thinking that water might be pretty cloudy. So the line's probably not going to make that much of a difference. But, what will make a difference is the rattle of that flyer. And the red Lindy flyer is probably, that's my favorite on Red Lake, hands down. That red color with the go back, it really, really, really catches a lot of walleye on red. All right, guys, shoot with some questions there. What do you got? Yeah, Ryan, they come in and eat shallow. So a lot of times on red, especially later in the year, you're gonna get that low light bite. So it's gonna be morning and evening, 6 to 10 feet of water, somewhere in there. That's a bite that I sit on a lot. Is that, especially that evening bite on red, can be phenomenal. Because the fish do, as they get pressured throughout the early ice season here, you're going to notice that that they're going to get a lot more finicky and a lot harder to catch. So it's going to be for example, it's going to be a low light bite, and also it's going to be a more subtle bite. You're going to be getting a lot more on the dead sticks than you would on the rattling flyer. Glow streaks for the win, John. If you're going to Lake Winnipeg, bring a glow streak. You won't believe it. It is amazing. What else we got? Yeah, and for these trout, I'm using the tungsten toad right now, but the quiver spoon, those little quiver spoons are awesome for these trout too. Of course, I didn't bring any live bait with me, which would have helped substantially. I'm just using plastics right now, but I have caught a few already. And I was hoping to get this live going before it got dark outside, and that didn't happen. It's getting pretty dark out right now. Go ahead and shoot, guys. If you have questions, put a question like I said at the end here. I'm going to pick some people to send some flyers. Oh, there's a fish right there. I wasn't even paying attention. Snuck right underneath me. Did you see that on that? So this unit I'm using right here is Hummingbird Mega Live. I got it on a fin gear shuttle. Really nice unit for ice. Other rods I use, John. So basically, all the rods I use, I'm using these Radcliffe Customs, and I kind of have them tailored to each bait I'm using. Like I said before, for the bigger baits, I'm using a little stiffer. For the tungsten toads, I'm using something with a really fast tip so that I can see those up bites. I really want to feel that jig and feel what it's doing down there when I have these super light baits on, like I'm using right now for these trout. Bob. Love turtles, Bob. If I had a weekend in December, which one would I pick to fish there? I would pick earlier the better. Earlier the better at Red Lake. There's a good bite early, and then the pressure gets to him, and it slows down a hair. But then in January, I was actually just talking to Chaz about this, First City Guide Service. He was telling me that he really likes that couple, end of December into January. He really, really likes that time period. So yeah, end of December, first couple weeks of January, that bite kicks off again. And then a lot of those guys will go from Red Lake to Lake of the Woods, actually, with all their ice castles and houses. The two guys I stay with when I'm there is I stay with Justin over at Up North Fish House Rentals, and then I do stay with Chaz for City Guide Service. They're both top-notch dudes, great accommodations. They really take care of you. What part of Red Lake do I fish? Which do you like better, Garmin LiveScope or Hummingbird? That's a good question. This comes up a lot, and what I will tell you is whether you have Mega Live or LiveScope, I feel like one or the other is not going to catch you more fish. I think maybe the Garmin, you're going to get more clarity out of the Garmin, and it's a little bit faster. But especially, there's a fish up high, especially for what I'm doing right now. If I was to be running a Garmin right now, especially in this 6 feet of water, that's not going to catch me any more fish than this Hummingbird is. But if my personal preference is, I do have a Garmin also. I probably like the Garmin just a hair more, but this Hummingbird is also, it's an amazing unit also. Yeah, that early ice in Lake of the Woods, Christmas break through the first couple weeks in January, that's definitely the best time to hit up Lake of the Woods for sure. Those walleyes are really chomping that time. Trying to think of that question. What part of Red do I fish? I'm going to say all of it. I fish that whole shoreline all the way from Mort's all the way across there. I fish the whole thing, just depending. I really kind of look and see where the people are, and I try to go where the people aren't. So, I might be fishing the far end, and then I might be fishing all the way to the bottom again. It really just depends on where the people are. I really try to stay away from the people because I really do believe that I catch more fish when I'm not around any of those people. Anybody got any more questions for me there? Yeah, so like I said before, 2 top baits on Red, Rattling Flyer spoon, and I love the new Rattling Quiver spoon. There's a fish right there. Once that sun went down, their interest level dropped. Glow spoons, I have caught fish with glow spoons on red, but that's not my go-to. Lake of the Woods glow spoons are 100% my go-to all the time. Love them on Lake of the Woods. So after I'm done here, just check your messages. I will send you private messages to get your info on the guys that won the rattling flyers. I do also this week, I'm going to do another quick live, probably beginning of next week. I got a box of rattling quiver spoons, brand new lure we came out with last year, phenomenal lure. They work everywhere, Red Lake, Lake of the Woods, Mille Lacs. It's probably my all-time favorite lure was the quiver spoon. Then we added the rattle to it, and that I use the rattle and quiver spoon all the time. It's probably the first bait I always drop down to kind of read the mood of the fish. I do have a whole box of those coming, and I will be giving a ton of those. So when that box shows up, I'm probably going to rip out a quick live and just give a bunch of those away. So be watching for that on the Lindy Facebook. I'm not a big snap guy, and I don't know why. Maybe I should be, John. I tie direct most of the time, and I may be wasting time doing that, but for some reason I like that direct line tie. And you know, with some baits you want them to sit right, and you got to kind of dress your knot, especially with like the tungsten toad and stuff. So I'm turning that and, you know, dressing that knot to get it to sit the way I want to sit. So that wouldn't really work with a snap. What else we got for question? What's your best time of day for fishing? All right, you know, right at dark, whatever time that may be, 4, 5, 6 o'clock. You know, right? I'd say 4 o'clock and on. That is for sure the best time on red. Well, that's when I catch the most fish on red anymore. Anyway, that low light period right at dark. Mornings are okay, but right at dark. Yeah, Tim, finesse, you're correct. They're kind of clanky too if you got a big eye on your lure. Any more questions you guys want to throw out before I log off? My iPad didn't do well with the cold, so I only have 2% battery, so it's going to be quick here, guys. If you got any, go ahead and throw them out there. Any fish? Yeah, I caught a few trout earlier, and I kind of suspected these trout. You know, it's a day bite for these trout, afternoon especially. They don't really like the low light, so I didn't get all this stuff set up in time to get in on a really good trout bite, but get it on film anyway. But you know, it's probably something I'll do later in the year. I'll come back out here and we'll set up during the day and put some trout on the ice. Oh, there's one right there. See him? Nope. See, they're just swimming by and looking at it right now. Not interested once that sun went down. Yeah, Eric with Radcliffe Rods. Yeah, PM with Eric if you have any questions. He's the guy that builds all these rods for me, and he'll build anything you want, any length, any color, anything you want, he'll build. All right. Any more questions, guys? If there isn't any, I am going to log off here before it dies. Foam bobbers. Stick a glow stick in them. Yes, absolutely. That's a great tip, actually. Yeah, Dave, super safe out here. This whole lake, I drilled my way out and spud boarded my way out, and there's 5, 6 inches the whole way. Yeah, like I've said this a couple times already, guys. If you're going out, practice ice safety. Dave, I wish I had the underwater camera with actually. I was just going out to drill some holes. I didn't actually think I'd be fishing, and then here I am. This live was actually supposed to be in my shop, but now I am sitting on the ice because I wanted to catch a couple more of those trout. Yeah, and with these trout, I mean, any kind of bait will work. A little chunk of night crawler, waxworm, minnow head. They'll pretty much normally eat anything. I've just got a little Bobby Garland plastic on right now. All right, guys, I am going to log off. So watch your personal messenger, and I will shoot you some message if you want some rattling flyers, and I will send them out to you. So thanks for watching. Thanks for all the messages. Have any questions about what went on tonight? If you're going to Red Lake and you have some questions about what's going on at Red Lake, I will be there fishing. Go ahead and shoot me questions. I'll answer anything you guys need to know. Yeah, thanks everybody. Have a good night.